used for different purposes. It is what the polymorphism says. So C++ coding, they have used this method. They have Reconq source code. They are very they are getting the use of this coding frequently. You can see, and if you go further, you can see the plasma. You can see how it is used in these two examples. The first one, they have used plasma as an for an expression to addition of these two, and second one, it's just like concatenation. So different options, same operator, but it gives two different meanings. And here it's also another thing. So this is what we are talking about, the polymorphism, and I'll give you another example also. This is what we this is also the another example. So as we can see, the asterisk used in programming for multiplication. As you can see in here, it used for multiplication, but here it used as an pointer type variable. So there is also the same operator, but the operation is different from one another. So here it's also the same kind of thing was used. And C++ helps the header file concept. If we take quick look at what header files are, header files means it contains some very valuable coding parts which needs to be imported to our project to be work perform well. So C++ use this concept heavily. So if we take what are the advantages and why C++ use this concept are, it's less redundancy, which leads to easier changes, easier refactorations. That means what I was talking about earlier, we can change these things easily because only a simple header file we can import, and we can remove it, or we can modify it, or we can do whatever the modifications we need to. And the second thing is, may give compiler linker better opportunities for optimization. And the next one is often easier to incorporate an existing project. So in Reconq coding, we can see lots of header files are imported. So if we check the coding, as you can see in this coding, there's so many header files imported to the project. You can see here the local include, that means the header files we define our own and we import it into another class. So it contains all the features, all the behavior of the parent class. So it's also reducing the redundancy of coding. So you can see there are so many header files used. It's a good design technique, good design method, and good design method to be followed, and it also followed by the Reconq coding. So it's further there are another header files included. So you can see so many header files used for this coding. So then we move into the next a very good feature in C++ language. It's preprocessor. If we check the definition, what is preprocessor is, preprocessor runs before the compilation begins. The result of preprocessing is single file which can then process to actual compile. Basically what preprocessor does is it removes the white spaces new lines, so many unnecessary things, comment, and which help compiler to compilers job easy. So there are preprocessor directives. The preprocessor directives controls the behavior of the preprocessor. Each directive occupies one line and has the following things included. That means the hash character. We can identify whether this is a preprocessor or not by this hash character. Pre-processing instruction. There are pre-processing instruction, and I'm not going to talk about these further. So if we check on the coding, you can see this. The hash include means it used a preprocessor. So we talk about this preprocessor, it what it does and how it behaves. So if we quickly check on the coding, also you can see there are preprocessors used and the header files, the ones we talked earlier. So there you can see so many header files, and the preprocessor directive is all the way behind in this header file. So it was very hardly and heavily used in this coding of Reconq Web Browser. So then when we continue, we can see error handling. It's a very good feature for an programming language. So error handling is done in Reconq Web Browser using C++ language. So error handling means exceptions. Exceptions means the errors and the unexpected behavior of a program when it's an execution time. When it is in execution time. So if we face that kind of an unnecessary thing, it will exceed the program. But if we can catch the exception and throw, then it won't exceed. The program will run continually. So the class exception provide a common interface to signals for error condition through throw exceptions. As you can see in this coding, this is coding of Reconq Web Browser. There you can see an exception was thrown. So Reconq Web Browser coding use these type of methods to handle the errors which are occurring when it is in an implementation time. So if we go further, we can see compared to many of other object-oriented languages, C++ has better support for functional programming. It's a good feature in this C++ language. Functional programming. C++ is a very good functional programming language. So you can see so many tasks they achieve through functions. Not writing all the coding in the main function, they have used different functions for each coding. So it's very easy to readable and very easy to maintain. So you can see a sample function which was used in Reconq Web Browser. This is also another function, and you can see the function, and within the function there are so many other functions are being called. So all the things included in C++. It's very easy and anyone can read, and the very useful method, this functional programming. So if we go further, we can see how widely it is used in this coding. If we quickly check on the coding, you can see the functions and how they are used. So how frequently, you can see there are so many functions and all the things are done by functions. not within the same code, not within the same main program. All these are not included. They have used a separate function for a separate task. So it's very good and very readable for a programmer. So if you go further, there's a disadvantage in C++. We just talk about this because it's in the Reconq Web Browser coding also. If we use so in encapsulation part, there are asterisk. That means asterisk means a dynamic pointer type variable. So it's allocating a memory to a variable dynamically. So in C++, we have to deallocate this memory. Otherwise, there can be memory leaks. In Java and other languages, they are garbage collectors, but C++ don't have any type of garbage collector. So the programmer has to manually delete those memory locations. So it's and disadvantages in my point of view. So you can see uh, here how they are used in the coding. So delete keyword, and the next variable is the memory dynamic variable, which memory needs to be deleted. So as we were talking,
So these are the things we describe about the code of this Reconq web browser, and I think this will give some good idea to you about this web browser and its code, and its code, how its code help to uh, uh, for the is its features. So I think you will now know those things well. So thank you for everybody to listening to our presentation. Ibrahim.